Welcome to My Body, My Bump, My Baby, where we help women be empowered, intentional mothers. This podcast is best enjoyed sipping tea or taking a stroll in nature. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be substituted for professional psychological or medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, midwife, or other qualified health provider with any questions about your personal situation, health, or medical condition. Welcome back to My Body, My Bump, My Baby. This is Bea, and I have a guest with me today, Miss Melissa, and we are going to do real talk of bringing baby home. Melissa, tell us a little bit about you before we get started.
So I am a mama of four. I have 4 earth babies and 2 heaven babies. So I have had a lot of bumps. I have had a lot of buns in my oven. And I have definitely been through the highs and lows of bringing home baby, whether it's the first one or the fourth one. Every single time, it's like
A little different.
Yeah, new level, new devil, you know? It's a terrible thing to say, but it kind of feels that way, where it's just like, oh my gosh, I have a new baby, and now I have all of you to take care of too. How am I going to do this? So it's definitely a learning curve every time. And yeah, obviously you have your salty mom moments where you're like, oh, I know how to do this part. I think for my third one, there's a huge gap between my second and my third, that when I was pregnant with my third one, I was like, am I going to remember how to do all this?
Right. What did I forget?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Why did I do this? Who signed up for this? So, no, but they're wonderful blessings, and very grateful to be a mama for. I have kids ranging from 15 and a half all the way down to 2.5.
Oh, wow. That's a good range.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So 3 girls, 1 boy. I got my token boy out of the deal.
Nice.
And so they're lots of fun. I homeschool. The 3 girls, my son is in a really small rural school here in town. And that's where my passion for the birthing world came from. My very first birthing experience was with my best friend, Stephanie. I was there for her baby shower, and then she went into labor.
Oh, wow.
And she
right after her baby shower?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had an inkling it was going to happen.
Holy cow.
I know her pretty well. And she has 7 children now. And so that was baby number 3. And we were talking with her, and she was, making the sounds and everything. I was like, hey, Steph, those are sounding rather rhythmic. Should we be calling the midwife? And she's had them all at home, which is amazing.
I love.
And that was such a beautiful experience to witness a home birth like that and watch my best friend I've known since 14 have her baby boy.
Aww.
And he was a little bit early, but he was perfectly healthy. It was so beautiful. And I knew I've always been fascinated with birth. But that was like the next level of like, oh, this is magical.
Yes.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
had you had any babies at that point?
I had my daughter.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, the midwife's like, okay, everyone in here who has had a baby, when she starts bearing down, you're not to do the same thing. Because you instinctually want to
help.
Try and help. And she's like, don't do that. You're going to blow out your pelvic floor. I was like, okay. So every time she would push, I'm like, I'm not doing it with you. But yeah, I don't know. It dates back, honestly, all the way since my kitten, when my childhood cat had babies.
Aww.
And my mom's like, honey, you don't want to watch that. I was like, heck yeah, I do. This is fascinating. And that was the most fascinating thing, to watch an animal give birth and how instinctual they are.
I love that.
Like, they don't need a midwife.
No.
They don't need an obstetrician. They just do it.
Right.
You know, and she was a very young cat, and she unfortunately got impregnated by a very large cat. So she kind of struggled to have these kittens. But it was still beautiful to watch just the whole process. And I would actually say, I'd shared that with my husband. I was like, I have been fascinated with birth since before I was in kindergarten.
Oh, wow. You were pretty young then.
Yeah, I was very, that maternal instinct has always been very strong. So yeah, I love being in the birthing community and helping future parents navigate the world of bringing home cute little humans.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So Melissa also teaches at ENSO. She teaches our new mama care class and the newborn care class, which I love that we've done that. I love that we have it's just a lot of information,
it really
I think.
is.
So we have one focused on how to take care of the new mama, and that's all we're focusing on. We're not really focusing on baby there. And then we have a completely separate one that's focusing on baby. And then we also have a completely separate one that's only focusing on breastfeeding because there's just so much and you can't cram it into one class.
No, you can't. And they all overlap each other, but they all need their own reverence. You know, it is bringing home baby. It's not just about having a baby. You know, when you're pregnant, all that you really feel is focused on is the incubator.
Right.
You are a human incubator. And they are concerned about how the human incubator is doing. Never mind the person that is inside the human incubator, the mind, the heart, the body that is going through this process. And then you have this cute little baby. I'm speaking in terms of having a medical birth. And you send you packing with this cute little baby. And you're like, okay, I'm sleep deprived from being pregnant. I just went through tens of hours of labor, and now I have this cute little baby, and now what? You know,
now what do I do?
It's not like when you get a puppy and you can stick it in the crate and go out to dinner. It doesn't work that way. You know, you're on. You're on for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And there's just not enough support for that.
And I think that, can I be honest? I feel like a lot
we're real talking it, aren't we?
We are. We're real talking it. So we're just going to kind of be brutally honest here. But I think that there's a couple of things going on. Like the whole, how do I get this baby, especially as the baby starts to grow, how do I get this baby out of me? Starts to get super real, and you're really having to focus a lot of attention on how am I going to get this baby out? So much so that I feel like it just takes over. It's like that's the only thing at a certain point in pregnancy. That's the only thing we're thinking about is I got to get this baby out. How am I going to get this baby out?
Yeah. And
there isn't a whole lot of room to think about what comes after. But the reality is, even though the event may, be 12 hours long for the birth, it's literally like a blip on the radar of the entire, life with baby, right?
It's analogous to a marriage if you think about it.
It's the wedding day.
It is the wedding day.
Yeah, it's a little blip.
You're you spend, you court your person, you spend some time preparing for the wedding. You're all excited about it. You have the wedding, and then you go off in the car and you're like, we just spent a year planning something that happened in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
Now we have a marriage.
Yeah.
New level, new devil, right? New thing. Okay, it is a piece of paper, yes, but it is a piece of paper that marks the rest of our lives.
Right.
Now intensify that about 1,000-fold.
Because you're trying to keep a little human alive.
It's not just a marriage that you can I don't like you anymore, and you could go your separate ways.
Well, and that other person can keep themselves alive.
Exactly. Oh, right? That's key. That's key. We would hope.
There's a certain level of expectation that you made it this far.
You are a grown adult. One can hope. But in any case, bringing home that new baby is huge. But one step further, you have been reborn too.
Right.
And that is something that is not talked about enough.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that many birth workers believe in, and we kind of just have this little bit of a saying that when a woman is in labor, and it really doesn't matter how you birth your baby, so whatever,
as
medicated, unmedicated, right? As long as the baby's coming out, for all people who are birthing a little human, they have to give a little piece of themselves. So some people might say that, a little bit of you has to crack, or you have to shed an old skin. But no matter what it is, you're going to give a little bit up of you to bring forward this new precious little human, which means that once the baby's here, we're a little changed.
A lot bit changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I would honestly say when I talk to the mamas that I work with, I try not to scare them, but I'm going to be real. You're a lot bit changed.
You're very changed.
you are changed down to a molecular level. I mean, we have scientific research that shows that baby is imprinted in mom forever. That's fact, which is incredible, which is magical. But again, it's not given enough reverence to, if I am changed on a molecular level by every soul that I brought into this world, whether they made it into this world or they're not here, I have been forever changed. Then pulling that forward into the now world, what does that look like now? If my internal part is changed, then my external part is even more changed.
Right.
And I also feel like when you're having that child as an adult who's in a relationship, you grow with that relationship.
Right.
You're ebbing and flowing. You're helping each other move through and navigate the highs and lows of adulting. But when you bring a child into this world, it brings out different parts of you. It can bring out more creativity. It can bring out more organization. It can also bring forward a lot of the hard things that happened in your childhood and in your life. I see that more and more and more, that a lot of things that haven't been handled or taken care of before baby come out full force, because now you're looking at this child and you want nothing but every possible best for that little person.
Right.
Which means... that means you have to work on you to be the best for them. That means if you don't want your stuff to carry on into them, you got to do the work.
Yes.
And that is not escapable. And you can try. You can run, but you cannot hide from those little demons that are inside there wanting to come out and be worked with. And I know I keep using those terms, but we all have those dark pieces. You know, whether we asked for them or not, they are there. And so I feel like my children are my greatest teachers.
Absolutely.
They have taught me how to be the woman that I am, the being that I am. They have pushed me to grow and change. They have pushed me to heal on levels that are indescribable.
Right.
My 2 miscarriages probably were areas where I had some of the most growth, because they brought me to my knees.
Well, I get that.
They busted me into a million pieces. And then having my rainbow baby, that you're so scared of, like, am I ever going to get to the other side of this? She is a force to be reckoned with, by the way.
She probably needed to be to hold that title.
Right, exactly, to be like the rainbow baby and the last baby. I'm here to stay. She taught me so much. I mean, that's where my yoga journey really took off, was during that whole entire time period. Becoming a doula, being in the birth working world, like, she's the one who kind of pushed that over the edge. And the pandemic, because I got to see how little support there was for women, or for the birthing populace. So yeah, it's an incredible journey to go on, and to also give grace. There's a lot of grace to be given.
And I think that it's really important for people to really, really grasp and understand the change that they are going through, like, the moment that baby arrives. And it's for the birthing person, but it's also for the partner, but also for the relationship as well, right? Because we went from, in not all cases, but for baby number 1 at a minimum, we went from it's you and I, friend, and it's what we're doing, and we're partners in crime, and it's our relationship, and we kind of figured out our way to swim together.
Yeah.
And then there is this introduction of this new little person who comes in, and they shake it all up.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, my alarm's going off. Lifing. I had to go pick up my kid, but I'm here. Good thing I have a husband. Yeah, it's I don't know. You said it perfectly, that it is such a partnership. You know, my husband always tells me, he was like, well, you did it. You made the thing. And I was just like, no. And he says that in a loving way. But I was like, honey, it wasn't just one fun time and we made this cute little creature and then I, like, made it and birthed it and here we go. Like, thank you for giving me all the credit. But your genetics are in there too. And without his support and him being by my side in that process, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't be a family.
Right.
You know, so many babies can bring people together and babies can bust them up quicker than you can imagine. And it's so unfortunate. But if you don't work together and you don't support each other in that process, and supporting each other doesn't just mean supporting mom, it's supporting dad too.
Right.
My husband and I were talking about this, and I said, I feel like as much as when baby is coming, we focus mostly on baby, right? The growth of baby. Right. And then mom is kind of secondary. And then dad's very outside, tertiary, like super out there. Right. And I feel like that's unfortunate because that's not helping build a family unit. Right. It's not helping empower dad to know what his role is. He's like, cool, we had fun in the sack and now we have a kid coming. Where do you need me? Well, and I also not only what do I do? Where am I needed? But also I've heard from men that sometimes they feel worried that they're being replaced. Yeah. Like the love that they were receiving from their partner is being replaced, and maybe that they are not as significant in the relationship anymore, or maybe their role has been, like, for them, they're feeling like maybe their role is going to be diminished in some way, which is totally not true. But I think that because there's so much focus on the mom's body from the medical community that all eyes are on her body and all eyes are on preparations for the baby coming, that partner kind of gets left, kind of very outside. Right. Almost like blending into the wall. Yeah. One of the things we do at ENSO is our classes are super partner centric. Yes, like we really want to get them involved because they actually do have a very clear role, and it actually starts before the baby comes, in my opinion. In truth, my mama class is actually mostly talking to the partner. I love that. I actually, the last one I had, one of the people who came was the partner. He came solo. Yeah, he came solo, which I was like, mad props to you, by the way. Yes. Because his wife had already had a child from another previous relationship, and she's like, I already know what I'm doing. And he's like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm going to go learn what to do and how to support you. I was like, what a sweetheart. Okay, can we clone that like 100 billion times? Yes. So I was really happy to hear that. And he had such great questions. But most of what we talked about was how to rebuild mom after creating this life. And in refilling mom's cup, you refill your own. And I made it clear to dads. I was like, look, it's nothing against you guys. Your feelings matter. You are important. But do not put that on her right now. Yes. Don't ask more of her, because every fiber of her being is being used to literally still keep someone else alive. Right. It spent 40 weeks. I'm not going to say 9 months, because 9 months is not 40 weeks. I know. Just saying. Right. 40 weeks building this little person to then go through the most intense experience of her life to bring this baby into this world, whether it's through cesarean or vaginal birth, whether it's medicated or unmedicated, it doesn't matter. It was huge and monumental. And every birth story, that's a whole nother topic. But she just went through all of that. She's been stripped down to her less than her essence. Right. She's having to rebuild that essence. Right. If you want to be a family, this is an opportunity to make your relationship stronger than ever. Yes. Because you're rebuilding the essence of your family together. Right. And also from a perspective that we're recognizing that she, at her core, her personality, her emotions, like they have all changed. They've changed from overnight, within seconds. Yes. Whoever she was, I mean, her brain has literally been rewired to mother. And partner has been changed from whoever they were to now, dad, co-parent, father, whatever role they're playing. And there's this third person. And so, one of the things that I say in my classes, when you leave the hospital, even though the drive that you took to get to the hospital may be the same drive in the same car, going to the same house and the same clothes that you wore, nothing is the same ever again. And you need to, and that's not bad. No, but it's true. But you need to realize it. Yeah. So like you can't go home and expect, like in a relationship, you spend a lot of time learning each other's landmines and you learn each other's like ticks and tricks and, the things and all the little buzzes like to make them hum and make them happy and coo and all of those things.
But you need to know that you can't rely on those after the baby comes. You have to go home and be like, hey, we just met. Not really, but, you know, kind of. We just met, you, a mother, and me, you know, the parent.
The partner.
And we're going to start dating again. And we're going to date with this little person in the middle of it, you know, and figure this all out.
And figure out how to reconnect. One of the exercises that I pilfered, and it was a beautiful one, and I kind of extrapolated on it, was going back and writing down a couple of things that made you fall in love with each other when you were dating.
Ooh, I love that.
Not sexual.
Yeah.
Not physical. Just what made you think that person was the bee's knees, was the best thing on the planet, was the person you wanted to spend your life with, was the person you wanted to make another person with.
Yeah.
What was that? And to write it down and to post it so that when you're having one of those days where everyone's feelers are on level 100. Like, everyone's nervous systems are shot. Everyone is tired.
Right.
You're able to take a deep breath, step back, and read that going, oh, yeah, I love my wife because of these 3 things. And right now she's ripping my head off because she is tired and she's cranky and her lady bits hurt and her boobs hurt and she's hungry. Okay. What is something I can do for her? So something I pulled again off of that was sharing the 5 love language quiz for each couple to do. And even though they've already done it, I was like, great, they can change.
Right.
Do it now.
Yeah.
And have that posted. Have that pretty little diagram that you can print off for free online that tells you right then and there, what is their number 1 love language? So you have these things that you love about this person, and then you know their love language. If their love language is touch, babe, why don't you sit here, kick your feet up. Let me give you a foot massage while you're nursing the baby. Heck yeah. Whatever she's pissed about is over and done with. She's putty in your hands, my friend.
Yes.
If her love language is gift, there's this thing called Uber Eats. It's rad, and it can even bring you coffee. Pay the money, my friend. Send her favorite coffee. Magically make it appear. And all is well. And it doesn't have to be complicated.
And I love the idea of posting those because I think once you can kind of get sideswiped by bringing baby home. Like, you just, all of a sudden you're in it and you're just like, you forget what life was beforehand. Yeah. I mean, I have so many mamas who are here twice a week, every single week, and then they fall off the planet, and they literally like, I don't remember what I used to do. Yeah. And I think it's so easy to get so deep into that really quickly that it is nice to have reminders of like,
who you were before?
Yeah, or who your partner was before, right? Like, I don't even know who I am right now. I don't even have the mental wherewithal to know who you are.
Yeah, and hormones, the amount of hormones that are pulsing through your body at that time make you cray-cray Lorray.
Cray-cray, I love that.
I mean, sometimes you're just not rational, that you need those touchstones. You need to be able to look at something that is black and white and rational going, oh, that's right. I chose you. I like you. I love you for these reasons. And, the very thing that I'm doing is actually your top love language, and they're not meeting. And as much as mom is throttled, she also has a part to play too.
Yeah.
And being self-aware of realizing, I need to take a break. I need to communicate. And that's another big part that I share is in our society, when you become a mother, now all of a sudden you're Superwoman. The only problem is they don't send you home with the dang cape with all the Superwoman powers.
Oh, and those fancy gold bracelets.
Right? They go ching ching, and you can move mountains with them. You are Superwoman, but you don't have to be Superwoman all the time. Even Superwoman has to sleep. Even Wonder Woman has to sleep.
Right.
So realizing that it's not all on you. You are not in this alone, and you need to ask for help. And having a list of what those things are. So another exercise that we do is for all of the type A's out there or the worry brains that they cannot calm down if they know certain things are not taken care of.
Right.
And whether there's some people like, I'm not that way. I was like, wait till you have a kid.
You'll
become
figure it
that
out.
way.
Right.
Because there's just certain things where you're like, I cannot relax, especially if it's your second child. You're like, is so-and-so getting taken care of? Did he get this? Did she get that? Like, because you never stop momming. Mm-hmm. You just don't. Even if you have a brand new infant, you're still momming another child.
Right.
And there's a guilt sometimes there of I'm not doing enough for that little person. So I have them write down, try and keep it closer to 5 so it can't get too far into the weeds, but just a handful of things that make you crazy.
Yes.
That if partner says, I've got the baby, I've got the toddler, go take a nap, then he also knows, are these 5 things taken care of? Honey, the things have been done. You don't need to worry. I've got it under control.
And one thing I will say is, like, if you have people who want to hold you up as a family, like mom-in-law, sister, friends who want to participate in some way, I know that a lot of frustration comes from that sometimes because they show up in one way and that's maybe not the way that we need. Mm-hmm. I think that list is super valuable because when they show up, they're thinking, let me give you a break. I'll take the baby. You go take a nap. But maybe that's not what you need. Maybe you don't need somebody to take the baby from you. Maybe what you need is somebody to do the darn dishes.
Yes.
Or take the whiny dog out for a walk or something like that, right? And so it's really clear then for them how they can help you as well, not just partner, but like your one level out group of support.
Yes,
like how
your
can
people that you can be naked with and they're okay. Like your top 3 people, if you can do all the things and there's no judgment, they can come in and go, okay, what needs to be done?
Right.
And if both parents look at them like they're dazed and confused, they can go to the list going, where are we at on the list?
Yeah.
What, and so I think it's just a way to openly communicate with everybody and help everyone understand what the needs are without having to communicate it.
Well, because also
that's exhausting.
Yes. I was just going to say that.
Like, okay, we've all been sick with something, right? And someone goes, or you're grieving or something terrible happens and someone says, how can I help? You don't freaking know.
You just kind of want to sit there and drool.
Yeah,
really.
You're just looking at them like, can you just read my mind?
Yes,
because I don't know what's in there. It's just a void.
Right.
I don't know what I need.
Right.
So for someone to be able to come in and see the captain obvious things or have a list and not have to ask the stupid question of how can I help, as much as that comes from a beautiful place in someone's heart, we don't know the answer.
Well, it can be taxing too. When I'm super stressed, it's kind of ironic. I am the most decisive person you'll probably ever meet. Like I know what I want. Bea knows what she wants, except for if I don't feel good or something, I'm like really sad or something has got me down. Mm-hmm. I literally cannot make decisions. And so somebody asking me, how can I help is actually, and it comes with the best intentions. They're trying to do something helpful, but it's super taxing on my being in that moment.
Yeah. It's like if I knew, I'd already be doing it, but I don't know.
Yes. Right.
So having people, your close loved ones, knowing what your love language is, knowing what, how they can help in those simple ways is super, super helpful to mom and partner. Because partner has those things too. And I think it's also important to have a list for the partner as well. So if you have your support people coming in, then they can be helping partner out with his worries or her worries or whoever the partner is worries. So then they can be more supportive to mom. Right. Because it's an ebb and flow. It comes in and out. Mm-hmm. We're all centered around baby, but we're actually centered around mom and baby because both of them are rebirthed.
Right.
One is helpless and the other is not helpless, but she's rebuilding. And in a way, she is kind of helpless because she's trying to figure out who she is again while keeping someone else alive.
Right.
So if you can help the outside, their next person, which is partner, take load off of their plate so that they can be closer to the epicenter, then they can grow together as a cohesive unit.
And I would take it another level too. And I don't know if you do this in the class, but just throwing this in there. For partner, I would also have them write down their list of 5.
Yes.
Because sometimes in order for partner to be functioning at their best, maybe they need something to keep them there. For example, I had one partner who was like, I can be super supportive and super helpful and I'm the Energizer Bunny and I can do everything and feel happy to do it, but I need my workouts. Mm-hmm. Like I need to get a workout in, because if I don't get a workout in, I emotionally take a nosedive and then I'm an awful person.
Yeah.
Right. So like we also have to like, so there's these two adults here that are trying to take care of this little human, and we're like, okay, what are your things? What are your things? Let's try
to have their
support each other.
Yeah. You need to have your self-care must-haves.
Yes.
Just because baby is there and you're covered in poop and whatever, which usually you're not, but still, you're sweaty, the hormones are flowing, you've got breast milk everywhere, everyone's been in their pajamas, the laundry's piling up, the dishes are piling up, because really you shouldn't care. Right. It's still going to be there. They're objects. They're not going to run away. As much as we'd wish they would sprout legs and fix themselves, that hasn't happened yet. So, it's still going to be there.
Yeah.
But you still need to have those self-care things. Something as simple as just taking a shower, just being, just make it a group effort.
Right.
Who cares? Get it done so that everyone feels whole again. Wake up after a couple days and say, we're not going anywhere but our couch, but let's put clothes on.
Because it'll feel good.
Because there is a lot of research behind even just getting dressed. Mm-hmm. Living in the day and age where people run around in glorified pajamas all day long, there's a lot of research that says that that's really bad for your psyche. Mm-hmm. That getting up, brushing your teeth, physically putting on different clothes to be functioning today actually helps your psyche get into gear.
And you feel that, right?
And you do feel that. When I stay in my funky pajamas and I don't put the bra on for the day, I was like, all right, that was fine. Now I'm gross. I really need to take a shower. And I need to human.
Yeah, right.
I need to be presentable. Like there's times I have a 30-minute drive to get my son to school and back, and there are definitely days where I am rolling out of bed and I'm like peeling the eyes open. I'm in the car and I'm like, I decided that the amount of time it took to put the bra and the real clothes on was super not as important as the cup of tea in my hand. So we're going for a cup of tea today.
Totally get that.
But when you get home, it's like, okay, I got him to school. We're good. I need to go get human now. I need to get cleaned up. I feel gross.
Right.
And I think that's really important for moms, because to keep mom out of the baby blues and into those next steps of postpartum and postpartum depression and all of the things that we actually connect to the word postpartum, those big scary things, it is avoidable. Right. Most of it is very much avoidable. That your 0.2% of the extreme is the extreme, and most of the time that has underlying stuff that was already there, already predisposed to, they already are on medication for, they already know they have those issues, or they're undiagnosed.
Right.
Most of the time, the baby blues side of things or that early postpartum depression can be fixed with just support, rest, and being real. Being real with your expectations of what is happening. Right. The world that you had before does not exist right now, at least for the first 4 to 6 weeks, while you're figuring out how to do this thing called parenting.
Right.
Because baby is trying to learn how to breastfeed too. They know to look for it. They have the instincts, but they have to learn how to latch on properly.
Right.
This is a two-way street. You're both learning something, and it's a patience game. And then, if you have any lip ties or tongue ties or any complications there, it just exacerbates it. So being kind to yourselves and communicating. Another thing we talked about is communicating what your percentage of play is. If you're at 100% and they're at 100%, ideally on a normal day that you can put into your relationship and into life, and you wake up and go, where are you at today? And mom's like, I'm at a solid 5%. Dad's like, rad, I am at a 30%. Well, you're doing better than me, but we're not even close to 50%. Our expectations just ramped down way
for the family.
Down. For the family. It's right. Like, that maybe that's your pajama day. We are watching stupid sitcoms, and our goal today is to keep everybody alive, be kind to each other, eat and drink, stay hydrated, do all the things to keep our body functioning. And it's a mental health day.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. You might have weeks of that.
Yeah.
But be real with it, you know? And you're still, by the way, not sleeping through the night. I mean, babies process their food in like 20 minutes.
Right.
So they're not going to sleep through the night for a very long time.
Right.
Sorry, plot twist. Not happening. Even now, my 2.5-year-old, she's still nursing. and she usually nurses to go to bed, and she went through this horrible sleep regression that was literally destroying me for a couple of months. I'm like, am I ever going to sleep again, kid? Like, why are you doing this? Well, she grew 1.5 inches in 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, well, that explains a lot.
Yes.
But even last night, I was sleeping so hard, and my 6-year-old came and says, Mommy, will you help me go to the bathroom? You heard that breath, right? Mm-hmm. I had to do that because I was like, in my mommy tired brain, I was like, you're 6 years old. You know how to go to the bathroom by yourself. But it's in the middle of the night. For whatever reason, she's freaked out. So I get up, help her go to the bathroom. I get all snuggled back in, and she startles me a second time. Mommy, I had a bad dream. And I'm thinking to myself, you weren't asleep long enough to have a bad dream. So you go tuck her back in and cuddle her, and she was fine. But it's like, she's 6.
Yeah.
I still get woke up in the middle of the night of something. God forbid everyone gets sick. Then it's all bets are off. So it's parenting, and we take turns. There's been times where I will roll over and be like, I'm not it. I will literally shove my husband. I was like, you're it. I'm not getting up one more time. I quit. I'm not doing it. And he'll get up with the kids. And as a mom, I have to release that mom guilt of, I'm costing him sleep. I should be up. It's like, no.
Well, it's a joint effort.
It is a joint effort.
Yeah.
But I do think that societally we put, circling back around to the superwoman, because I like to talk in circles, we put a lot of pressure on mom to do all the things.
Or mom puts a lot of pressure on mom.
Yes. It's a girl on girl thing.
Yep.
It's a mom on mom thing.
Yep.
It's a self on self thing.
Yep.
And the way to empower the spouse is to ask for help, is to make them a part of the process.
Right.
You can't say that your husband doesn't do anything, or your spouse doesn't do anything, your partner doesn't do anything if you don't include them in the process.
Well, and that's deep, what you just said, including them in the process. Like, we literally need to unpack that a little bit, because I think what happens is, at the very beginning, mom is feeling like she was the one holding the sole responsibility of creating this human. The baby came out, and she's still in that mode of, I have sole responsibility, but actually it's not true. Mm-hmm. But what happens, I think, sometimes is mom takes that burden on. She's like, yes, I gotta care for the baby. I gotta take care of the baby. I'm responsible for the baby. And partner doesn't do a lot of that. And then down the road, 6 months down the road, mom is like, hey, you need to do stuff. And partner's like, well, I've been doing these other things that I thought I needed to do, but now they just came into this whole relationship and process 6 months late. Mm-hmm. Whereas if they start at the very beginning, when mom is learning, partner is learning, right? And everybody's learning, and then baby grows, and the mom learns a little bit more, and partner learns a little bit more, and then 6 months down the road, they should be like almost even Steven, like equal players in this thing.
It's a joint learning curve, right. And it's really a disjustice to do to your partner, leaving them out for whatever reason, because what you hit the nail right on the head. Now they're behind the learning curve.
Super behind.
And now they're trying to play catch up while you're burnt out, and now you have fights.
Right, because you're frustrated. Because you're like, why don't you know how to do this?
Yeah, and it's like, well, because you were being superwoman and you did it all. Right. And it's like, okay, on what? And I just want to preface, there are different relationships. There are different cultures that put more emphasis on mom doing the mom thing, and the dad does the providing and the protecting, and that's fine. And if that's how your relationship is built, mad props, I respect that. But even in those relationships, there is still a space for both to do stuff.
Well, to know how.
Right? Like, I remember, I loved my husband for saying this. I remember we had our first, and I think he was home with her, and one of his buddies like, oh, you're babysitting? He's like, I'm not babysitting. I made the baby.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, you can't. He's like, what? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You can't babysit your own kid.
Right. I'm parenting.
Yes. Like, just because my wife isn't home doesn't mean that she's the only parent. Like, two made this.
Right.
Two's raising it. And it was part of the culture, because he was in firefighting at the time, and some of that can be some of the culture sometimes because they work crazy hours. And depending on, like I said, everybody has their own thing. But I loved the fact that he saw that as like, no, I'm not babysitting. I'm taking care of my child.
Yes,
like,
yes.
just because I'm not mom with boobs doesn't mean that I'm not capable
Right.
of taking care of my child,
Right.
you know? And he's always taken ownership of, these are my children. I am one of two stewards to help you get into this world. You know, it's not just her, it's us.
Right.
So having that us mentality with your partner is so important. And I've shared this with the parents that I've worked with of, this is your opportunity to take your relationship to levels you could never dream of.
Right.
When you learn how to partner at this level, it's unbreakable.
Yeah.
You can do so many amazing things together, and you need to have that. Because when you get later on, like right now we're in teenage. My daughter's 15 and a half. My son is 14. And then we have daughter 6 and then 2.5. And we're in those teenage years with the top 2. And we're in toddler and preschool and school on the bottom 2. So we're in the whole spectrum of needs. There's a lot of needs. And oh my goodness, I remember people telling you, oh, wait till you get to the teenage years. And then we've been really blessed. Our kids are really amazing kids. But we work really hard to be a cohesive family unit. I can honestly say, being a homeschooling mom, I know my kids. And I know not everybody can do that, and I know that's hard. But knowing your children, knowing how they tick is so important. And so we've had some hard times lately with my teens where they're teenagers.
They challenge you.
They're thinking with half a brain. Let's be real. Okay. The other half of their brain is developing, and their hormones are crazy, and they're tired. They're
big.
They're big. They're having people. My son is growing like 1.5 inches a month. You know, like he cannot eat enough. And so it has been a testament to my husband and I's relationship and our parenting partnership, trying to navigate some of these really big challenges of, like, you know, my son growing and needing different things and dealing with the testosterone and the angst, and my daughter doing her own thing. And it's a lot. And if you don't have that good foundation from the very beginning, it will catch up to you later.
Right.
When you don't have the time to deal with it, when you need to be making really big decisions as a cohesive unit. It's a make or break.
Right.
And so my biggest goal is to empower parents to empower each other so that they can continue growing in this relationship with their children. Something that was talked about when my husband was a rookie going into the fire department is they said, you need to remember that you are individuals.
Yes.
And then you're a couple, and then there's the kids.
Right.
Some mindsets are, there's us, and then we had kids, and the kids are in the middle. No. You need to stay a cohesive unit.
Yes.
The marriage needs to be whole.
Yes.
Before the kids, and I know that'll ruffle people's feathers, but if you are not whole as a couple, then
the kids suffer.
Yeah. They don't have the cohesiveness. They don't have, you're not a united unit. It's not consistent. They need that consistency. Kids crave consistency.
And let's talk about that a little bit. You know, I mean, I think when we are tired and, you know, we're just barely getting by with a new little one, I think could be very easy to get a little bit short-tempered with each other. And I think there are some, you know, techniques that you can use, like just, you know, before you snap, take a deep breath. And also just having really good communication with each other and realizing that your partner is not you. They're not going to do it exactly the way you did it or you would do it. But if it gets done a way,
then
it's done. And we just need to be like, okay, you know, and I'm speaking for I'm like the controller. I always want to control. I like to have it a certain way. But really, you just have to step back and be like, you know what? Thank you for doing that.
That's the key right there.
Yeah.
Thanking each other for doing
just being
their
good
best.
to each other still.
Yeah. And I honestly think thank you is probably the 2 best words in a relationship, especially when you bring home a baby, anything.
Yeah.
Honey, thank you for changing the baby's diaper. I really appreciate you.
And I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Honey, thank you for breastfeeding our baby and keeping them healthy. I really appreciate you.
We all
need those
that.
words.
Yeah,
you need those words.
You do.
The mom needs to have all of the kudos in the world. There's not enough words of praise for what she is doing. And so does the spouse, because they might be, she's taking care of the front end, he's taking care of the back end. It's still, both jobs need to be done. They're taking turns rocking baby and patting baby and cooing with baby to get them to settle down. Or, she feeds, they burp. Whatever your team effort is, make everything a team effort as much as you can, because then you can have gratitude for each other because you're both doing it.
And I think that changes, it creates this new love language or this new form of bond between each other. I know it sounds so silly because when you're young and you're in your 20s, you're very hormone driven, physical attraction, those type of things. You're in the let's make babies mode, But when the baby comes, nobody's in let's make a babies mode anymore.
It's not changed. Hollywood anymore. It's gooey and messy and complicated.
Super different. And all of a sudden, you're watching your partner do the dishes in the kitchen, and you're
it's the hottest thing you've ever seen.
Yes, you're like, oh my gosh,
I don't know if I can
so
say this.
Sexy right now.
It's like mom porn. You're just like, my husband will do that even to this day. He'll be doing the dishes and he'll look at me. Oh, he's like, is this mom porn? I'm like, oh yeah. Or he'll vacuum. Or I am blessed. I'm married to a retired firefighter, so they come domesticated, which is a really nice bonus. But he can cook, he can clean, he can do the things, which is really awesome. But yes, it's those little things that matter. And
it's huge.
And unfortunately, another reality is that when baby comes home, there might not be a lot of things that mom is able to do to give the partner that same partner porn, if I can say that. Right. She's sitting there breastfeeding and, raw nipples and the whole bit.
Body is not feeling great.
But if the relationship is being realistic and it has the correct expectations, that is beautiful to the partner. Mm-hmm. That person looking over and seeing her looking down at her child and nursing and burping and holding, that is their partner porn, if you will. I know I keep using that word, but it's not even a turn on. It's beautiful. It's actually deeper
kind of love.
It's a deeper kind of love than just sexual. It hits you to the core where you're just like, oh my gosh, you made that and you're nursing it and you're keeping it alive, or even if you're bottle feeding, I don't care. You're keeping that little person alive. You're loving. You see that connection between the two, and it just melts your heart in 1,000 ways, whether you are the one nursing or bottle feeding or you're the one doing the dishes. It's those small acts. And I think that's the best part actually about bringing home baby, is you get to quiet the world around you. We live in such a fast-paced, materialistic, gotta have it, gotta do it right now world.
Right.
When you bring home baby, the whole world stops.
Yeah.
It slows down because none of that matters anymore.
Right.
This little cute bag of flesh is all that matters to you, to each other.
Right.
And you get to have that moment where you can slow down and do the simple things. You can sit there on the couch and have baby sleeping with one while the other one is gooing over, folding all the tiny little socks, because there is something about baby clothes. I hate laundry. I loathe laundry with every fiber of my being. But baby clothes, I can do those all day long. Aww. Baby clothes are amazing. Until about 2. And then I'm over it. Like, nope, they're bigger. Nope, I'm over it. I hate them all. But baby clothes, they're fun because it's these tiny little bits that go on this tiny little person you worked so hard for and you waited so long for. So just enjoying those little times together. Or the baby is sleeping and you're doing the dishes together and you're maybe bumping hips and, teasing each other a little bit. And you're re-falling in love on a deep fundamental level where sex isn't involved.
Yeah.
It can't be. For 6 weeks after that baby comes, 6+ weeks after that baby comes, you are re-falling in love. You're dating again. Going full circle to the very beginning. You're dating again. You're watching movies again. You're courting each other, but you're doing it with the little person you brought into this world. And then there's the intimacy part, and that's a whole nother
That's a whole nother episode.
Are we talking about that?
No, that's a whole nother episode. I can't even unpack that in this episode. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that is a whole nother ball of wax. But the time going into that, I will say this, that having that intimacy, I think it brings it to a different level.
Yes. Yeah.
And it brings a different appreciation for it. You're a more mature person. I honestly feel like there is a difference in your human form when you bring another person into this world, that it just changes things. It changes everything. Like I said in the beginning, it's not like getting a puppy where you can like go, okay, you're cute. I'm going to put you in the crate. We're going to go have a steak dinner now. Right. Like, you can Uber the steak dinner to you, but you're packing up the whole shebang to be able to go out. You know, babysitters are expensive. Yeah. You know, and you're not wanting to do that in the first 4 to 6 weeks. You barely want to people.
I'm like, you don't want to put makeup on. You don't want to do your hair. I mean, you don't really want to get out of your pajamas, to be honest.
And that's the other part is I think it's important going into the pregnancy to show each other some of those raw forms so you're not shocked when you get there. And what I mean by that is moms, let down your hair a little bit. You don't need to have the makeup perfect, the perfect outfits, the perfect hair. Show your partner, if they don't know a raw side of you, show that before the baby comes, because you're not going to have a choice but be raw.
Right.
And sometimes that can bring a lot of shame and that can bring a lot of fear if you don't feel comfortable being in your raw skin self with your partner. And some relationships, they don't have that transparency yet.
Right.
If you don't have it yet, you're quickly going to have it when that baby comes, whether you like it or not. They're going to see you at the rawest, stickiest, gooeyest form.
Right.
When that baby is coming out of you and nothing is perfect and your hair is not perfect and you're, granted, some of that you can, go get your pedicures and your manicures and do all of the pampering things before baby comes. But when baby comes, that's less of an emphasis.
Right.
And I think it's important to be real with each other of this is me and my real self.
Right.
If you can't be raw and real and whole and have the ugly cries yet,
work on it.
Work on that.
Work on it.
Have that before the baby comes, because you're going to need to be able to be raw and real on a level you cannot even imagine.
Because honestly, you're going to need your partner like you've never needed somebody before.
Yeah.
Like you really do need them to show up in a really big way, and they're going to need you to show up in a really big way because they're also going through this big thing.
And even if you don't have a partner, reaching out and finding your tribe, finding the, handful of people that you can be raw with, it's really, really important to establish those relationships before baby comes so that you can let down, because there's a lot of processing your birth story, processing being a mom, the grief of releasing the person who once was and embracing the person who is, looking in the mirror and looking at your body and going, wow, I don't know what that is. Will what I knew ever come back? And there's grief there. There's even anger.
Right.
There's a lot of emotions that come from having a birth.
Right.
And you need to have a support base to be able to stand there and have the ugly snot cries of going, am I ever going to see my abs again? It's a superficial thing, but it's things that it's part of you, or, am I ever going to not have gross, greasy hair? Am I ever going to feel like a woman again and not like a cow? You need a people. And even outside of your husband, it's good to have those people, because it is heavy work to be the support.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't give enough credit to the support and the caregivers, because it can be just as heavy, if not sometimes heavier, to hold all of that.
Yeah.
And they're going to need their support base. I've told a lot of the parents of like, hey, you know what? Don't ask mom to fill your cup. You get your cup filled by baby. You get your cup filled by your friends. Mm-hmm. You get your cup filled by family, or playing the video game with the baby on your chest. Yeah. Find ways that are healthy and appropriate to fill your own cup so that you can keep helping mom rebuild herself so she can keep baby alive. Like, this is your world right now. It will not always be that way, but this is your reality right now.
And the reality is, as hard as this all sounds, I mean, it's hard and it's a lot of change, but it's also, it really is a short amount of time. When you're going through it, it doesn't feel like it.
No.
Yes. But it is short. I actually had a mama in yoga not too long ago, and she's having her, I think it's her second or her third. And her little ones are a little bit older. And the one thing that she said that she's looking forward to really stood out for me. And I just absolutely loved it. She said, I'm looking forward to the sleepless nights. She said, I know that sounds crazy, but there's something wonderful about baby waking up in the middle of the night when the house is completely quiet and snuggling this little newborn, just you and the baby. And she said, and yes, you're low on sleep. She said, but it goes by so quickly, those extra special snuggle times. She's like, it's like gone so fast. She's like, so I am looking forward to those sleepless nights for the extra good baby snuggles.
And I miss those.
Right?
Even to this day.
They're just a blip.
With my last one, with everything that was going on in our world, and I had 3 other kids, I miss them. As much as I was present for them, I wish I was more present for them. Right. Because yes, they go by so fast. I mean, they come out just this tiny little being, and in the matter of a month, the amount of
so much
weight that they gain, they go from a newborn to an infant in a month, in 6 weeks. You know, by the time they're 6 weeks old, they look completely different, and they're still cute and squishy, but they're cute and squishy in a different way. They're not this cute little ball that you can still imagine inside of you. They super don't fit anymore at that 4 to 6 week marker, because they gain so much and they change so much, and their awareness changes so quickly. I share with a lot of parents, I was like, you don't understand time until you have a kid.
Right.
Because you are
They're
literally
like your little markers in time.
Yeah, you're literally watching time pass in like reality. You're watching someone grow. And especially in those first 4 to 6 weeks, you get to see what 4 to 6 weeks actually looks like in real time.
Right.
You know, it's measurable. Right now, you know, we're like, oh, it's this time, or it's this time of the year, or it's, you know, I don't know how the heck it's already October of 2023. Where did those 10 months go? But when you're pregnant and you're getting ready to have a baby, you're like, oh, I know where those 10 months went. You know, when baby's here, you're like, oh, I went from a newborn to they're crawling.
Right.
It's crazy.
So fast. It happens so fast.
So fast. So
I think she said, like, baby number 1, she said, I was so tired that I couldn't wait for that to be over. And she did say, and I was worried, like, what the hell did I just do? Because I thought it was going to never change.
Yeah.
She said, but then after it was gone, I missed it. And so she's like, this time I'm not going to wish it away. I'm going to savor each moment, because she's like, although when you're in it, it feels like forever and you're exhausted and it's hard. She's like, I'm going to just remind myself how short and brief it really is. And the reality is, this period that we were talking about, bringing home baby, it's short.
Oh, it's
hard.
Short.
It's short, and it's beautiful. It does have its beautiful, yummy pieces in it that you just will miss later on. So, you know, despite some of the hard things that we talked about today, you know, there's still like baby TV, right? Like you said, like having the baby there on the couch between you all and just sitting there and being like, wow, we created this.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Look at those little fingers.
Right.
And I think you hit something very important right there. It actually can be enjoyable.
It could be enjoyable.
And sometimes our society likes to dwell on the drama. We like to dwell on the negatives. We like to dwell on the blowouts. We like to dwell on the spit up, on the sleepless nights. Those are the negatives. There's 1,000 positives.
It's an amazing opportunity in the relationship.
It is nothing short of magical.
It is.
There's really no other word to describe the whole entire process, from conception to baby coming out to forever. It's magical.
Yeah.
You're watching another person come into this world. It doesn't get any more fundamental than that.
Well, and you grow together. Like the whole family grows together.
Yes.
I've actually had mamas who have said, like my partner was so amazing at the birth. My partner continues to be so amazing, and they're maybe like a year postpartum, and she says, actually, I've never loved them more than I do right now. If in this 1 year or these last 2 years, you know, pregnancy and the 1 year postpartum, like the things that we've gone through together are like so freaking deep.
Yeah.
And on just a completely different level. I mean, that's juicy stuff.
It
right?
is. It really is. And it is a make or break. You know, I'm going to be real. Not everybody's designed for it.
But you know what?
Not
the postpartum is not breaking it. I think the postpartum is highlighting bad choices that occurred before baby came.
I would agree. I would agree. And so most of the time it is, I would say 90% of the time, it is a place to come together. And if you go into it with the expectations like we're talking about, if you go into it with the mindset that we're talking about being the key, and the reality of that it's not going to last forever. It's very short. Don't wish it away. Don't rush it away. Be present. Try and take as much time as you can off so you don't miss this part of this bonding experience because it is the building blocks for your family for here on out.
And participate equally.
Participate equally.
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for success. Yeah. It's where you're wishing it away. It's where you're resenting it. It's where you're not making the time. You're not prioritizing the time. It is a priority.
Sure.
You know, we have a lot of should, coulds, and woulds in the world. And then there's this is important to me. This is my priority. I'm going to be here for this. With every single one of my kids, and I was blessed that my husband had the kind of career that he has that he could accrue time. But he didn't have any paternity leave, which you would think you would through the fire department, but he didn't. You just had to accrue time. And so it was a little hard during the pregnancy because he had to be gone more. But he made sure that he had the first 4 weeks off. So with every baby, we've had the first month off together with every single baby.
Nice. That
by the time he went back knowing that I had it figured out, you know, that I could nurse and I could do all the things. And, you know, we have 4 kids, you know, like the first time, like, I have no freaking clue what I'm doing. I remember taking to the baby to go see him one time because she was colicky. And I was a new mom. I didn't know. And she was gassy and I didn't know how to make it better. And I was trying all the different rules, but I didn't know the cues because you're new. You don't know.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking her to go see him at the firehouse. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with her. I broke her. And I think it was one of the first shifts he was back at the house. And everybody there had kids of their own. So it was great. They was passed around the tiny baby and everybody was getting their baby munchies. And the captain the operator at the time, Jerry, my daughter is in his arms and all of a sudden you hear this Brits. And I was like, oh, you fixed him, Jerry. Thank you. She just like completely filled her pants. And then she was happy as a clam. I was like, see, I just needed to bring her to the firehouse and you fixed her. But in our relationship, he was more than happy for me to come to the firehouse. And, you know, we went to the side and I had my little mom ugly cry because I was overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And everyone passed around the baby and I had dinner with them. And then I went home and I felt, even though he was gone for 48 hours at a time, I still felt like I could still go to my person. And not everybody has that ability, but you can still call your person on the phone and be like, I'm having a really bad day. You know,
even that phone call, just them talking you through it is super helpful.
I can't tell you how many times I've had those phone calls of, I am getting my butt kicked with parenting today. You know, talk me down from the ledge, please, so that I can dry my tears, come out of the pantry that I've locked myself in or the bathroom and go face the little beings that we brought into this world.
They're your teammate.
They're your teammate, but that is so important to establish in the beginning. Yeah. It always breaks my heart. And everyone has their financial story. But it always breaks my heart when I hear people saying, oh, I'm going 2 weeks after the baby's born, or the spouse is like, I'm not taking any time off. I'm just going to work through it. And I'm like, ugh. Even if you work from home, you need to take some dedicated time to be there for your spouse because she's fragile. She just had a baby, and now she's going to feel guilty asking for help because you're at work.
The whole thing is fragile. The relationship, too.
The relationship's fragile. And so it's setting a precedence that if you cannot take a couple of weeks off to be present for your new family, you're setting the tone.
Yeah.
And I know that might ruffle people's feathers, but you got to make the time. You just had a baby.
Yeah.
You both just had a baby.
Right.
You as a spouse is changed.
Right.
And you need to make time for that. You can run, but you can't hide from it. You really can't. And if you don't make the time, it might not catch up to you in the moment, but will catch up to you later.
It absolutely will.
It'll bite you in the butt.
Melissa, it's been so good chatting with you. We
too.
are running out of time, but before we go, is there any parting words you want to give the listeners, or tips, or
I definitely don't want to leave it on it'll bite you on the butt. So no, I just wish everybody just a beautiful journey into parenting and parenthood. And I hope that this was able to give some little nuggets of truth. And if you're already a parent, then maybe you're like, yeah, what she said or what they said. Validation. Hopefully I gave some validation and some pieces to marinate on, and know that it's all with love. And everyone's going to do what's right and best for them. But just keep each other in each other's heart. Know that you have a team. It took a team to get the baby here. It's going to take a team to bring the baby into this world and
make them into a good human.
Yeah, and the hashtag let's make good humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish everyone the best in their journey in parenting, whether you're a salty mom of many or you are a brand new parent expecting. I hope that this helps bring families together and helps them be even closer and creates beautiful futures.
Thank you so much for joining us. And to the listeners, thank you so much for listening to another episode. And if you have not subscribed to our podcast yet, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you get a notification when we release our next episode. We're always trying to bring out great tips, tricks, and topics to help you. So if there's anything that you want to hear about, send us a message, ensomama@gmail.com. We're always looking for good feedback. Until next time, stay healthy.